welcome to Storytime here on Horror Fiend TV. As yes, what's your story? And we're here with triple dose of three corners plus a fourth corner, which means triple the fun, triple the threat, and triple the different opinions. So yes, before I introduce my co-host, let's introduce our guest, the man, the guy who does. What Ricky Grimes does behind the scenes, you guys don't see. He is basically the catalyst for Horror Fiend TV.
Yeah, what up? What up, son? JR, Lexi, thank you for the invite. And it couldn't have come at a better time. This is a movie that doesn't really fit as far as my personal projects, but I am so glad you guys are doing it. So it gives me an opportunity to come on and talk about this because I'm a big fan of this series. I just became a fan not too long ago too, because I was never really into these films, not because I didn't see them, well, let me rewind that. Not because I didn't like them, but because I never got the chance to see them. But once I did, yeah, man, I'm glad you guys are doing this. So thanks for the invite, and I can't wait to talk about this one with you.
Of course, Lexi's been dying to talk about this one. She's been itching at the seams, and we're here, Lexi. You ready for this one?
Yes, definitely. And I like that we brought Rick on. I really wanted Rick on. We've had postponed this, to be honest, just to get Rick on. And I'm so glad you're here. So thank you.
Thank you.
My Insidious people is Rick, and because I love this franchise, is Rick and Angel, who's been on here a few times on the channel. And I can't wait until like slowly as What's Your Story goes on, I'll keep bringing this up randomly and we'll go through chronologically. That's why we're starting with chapter 3 and not the first one. But when we get to number 5, the red door, ooh, I'm going to need Angel and Rick because we're going to all fight about that one. Especially me and Angel. I love you, Boo, if you're watching. Yeah. Yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, let's dive into this because you made a comment before, and even before when we were planning about this, how you feel like this is where the franchise really begins. So yeah, do you think this film should have started this franchise, Lexi?
No, I actually like the way they started off the franchise because when you first watch Insidious, the first one, you think that is the opening. And then as the franchise kept coming out, 2, 3, 4, you realize, whoa. Now, hindsight, I am a chronicle order watcher. So I like a chronological order watcher. So when I found out this was all out of order, I was like, no, I stopped watching until they were done. And I went back and I Googled, how do you watch this in order? Because I hate the storyline out of order. It just makes my eye twitch. So when I found out this one was the first one, technically speaking, I had to watch it in that order. So I am very glad that we're talking about this one. However, I'm glad that they started with Insidious because it is the grand opening to the franchise. And we'll discuss that one at a different time. But let's get into chapter 3, which is technically the first one.
And what about you, Ricky? What do you think about that?
I agree. I do think that placing this one as the third film is I don't want to say it was a good idea because I was talking to Lexi off air before. I think it was not done by design. I think this movie, they knew what they had in this franchise and they wanted to keep it going, but they kind of needed fresh ideas. So I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get the original actors to come back for this one. Scheduling, I don't know. So they said, "Fuck it, let's just do a prequel," and it works in my opinion because the other two films sets up the universe essentially. This one kind of teaches you where this universe starts, the existence of this the further, right, the dark place. We get to learn what it is and like how these, I don't know, creatures, monsters, like poltergeists, entities, whatever you want to call them, why they choose to leave their dark place to come here or vice versa, and how they're able to go from one world to the other. And sometimes we need that. And I love prequels. I'm a fan. I like watching stuff out of order if it's done this way because you pick up on little things like the scene, when they're Elise goes to meet her friend, the other, I forgot his name, but he was her her opposite essentially. What's the guy's name, Jared? You know, God, dog. He was in The Walking Dead, the actor. Jesus Christ, I forgot his name. But
Nah, actually,
regardless,
I know who he is, but yeah.
it's all right. But when they're talking, right, and she's explaining to him, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," and he's saying, "No, you know, you got to face it. You got to do this. This is how you know. This is these people rely on you." And they're going through the pictures, and you see the pictures of a young Patrick Wilson from Insidious 1. You're like, oh, so that's how they're tying this because now the woman that's in those photos is the one that's going after her. So it builds that universe up. And I think that's important if you're going to keep a franchise going long, adding chapters that are kind of out of order to give you information that you didn't have before, but still keep it fresh in a way. So I dig that, and I think this one here, I think the placement was really good, and I'll get into a bit more later why I think that. But to answer your question, I think it was. I don't want to say it was smart because I don't think it was by design. I just think that they were like, we got 2 movies in, we got to, it's making money, we got to keep it going. Prequel. It worked for George Lucas, so why not? So
I agree. I think for some reason, like every franchise needs a prequel, and they put it in certain places at when it's needed. Like I'll give you one quick example. We're all fans of Underworld, but when we saw the Rise of the Lycans, which was the third chapter, and then we're like, all right, they should start off with this one maybe to give us a little backstory. But if I was to compare franchises, I would say something like that. So for me, I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of this series. I did watch the first one. I guess a good way to get back into the franchise being watching the prequel, which for somebody who doesn't watch much of the films, it was a good introduction to Elise Rainier. Um, I think they could have went a little deeper into the backstory, to be honest. Focused on to build a prequel up, which I don't know if it was meant to do that, but I just feel like that's where they should have focused on. But I'll get more into that later. But one of the things with the franchise is they always have great character. And the introduction of Quinn, which you have this girl who thinks that her mom is trying to contact her, gets into an accident later on after visiting Elise. And I like the fact that now majority of films we watch that have to do with possession type films, there's always a weakened character that becomes the vessel for what's to come. I mean, what did you guys think of, the character of Quinn and how everything that happened to her leading up to the entity appearing, you know, how did you guys feel about it as it affected the outcome of the film? Lexi?
I like how you call her like a weakened like vessel almost because that is what she is in this story for Insidious 3. She's lost her mother. She's teenager at best, I think. She's dealing with the relationship with her father. It's a hit or miss with them. There's moments where they have good moments, and there's moments where she's like, I literally hate him, like literally hate him. And she's dealing with her obnoxious brother. She's going through a lot, and she's also personally going through life herself, where she's auditioning for the school that she wants to go off in college to get away from that family life. So she is a how do you say it? I don't want to take your words, weak in soul, but she is just digressing personally, especially after the traumatic loss of her mother. But she is a great character for this film when it comes to the entity taking over someone who's weakened. And she's, I mean, a perfect candidate. Oh, well, let me just play on her feelings. Maybe mother is reaching out. And, that's when she reaches out to Elise because she said, and she told Elise, like, I tried reaching out on my own before I actually came to you. And so she already kind of opened that door. And then with Elise kind of reopening it again, it starts to progress and makes me wonder when exactly the progression starts. I mean, we see moments where I think one of my favorite scenes is where she's doing the and then da da by what she thought was her little lover boy next door.
Shaving a
When
haircut.
really it was yeah, and really it was the entity with the breathing mask, which as a sleep tech, I love that scene, and I if Joe's watching, I'm hoping he likes that part too because they placed it on correctly for once. But anyways, that's just me nitpicking. Yeah, Quinn is a strong character for this film for being, and it's crazy that we're calling her like a weakened vessel, but she is a strength in this film to keep and carry this film with Elise, with her family, and keeping the story going.
What about you, Rick? What you thought about the character Quinn?
Yeah, I like the fact that she was a very vulnerable character to begin with, and that's how she became an easy target for this monster, this creature. And as far as the character itself, I think she's a really good character, and what makes her even stronger is the supporting cast around her. I love the fact that Quinn doesn't live in a house; she lives in an apartment, in a building, with a single dad that lost his wife, her mother, and he's alone to raise the two kids. And he's a walking anxiety, bro. This guy, he just, oh my god, I feel so bad for this dude. And I know he loves his daughter, but it she looked at it as him just holding her back. I get it, and I think that's where the character dynamic really jumps out to me. Is it's such a personal skill. It's in this apartment building with people that we could all relate to, and it's different. It's not a big luxurious house, or they didn't buy a house that became haunted. It's just a more personal story. And I think that having a character like Quinn, who's young and confused, she lost her mother at a young age, and she's doing whatever she can to contact her because she just can't move on. The way she left things off for her mom, she feels incomplete, and it leaves her open to whatever darkness was leading to her. And I think that makes that character so much more better to me because she's not your typical, high schooler that's got everything in the world. No, this is a struggling family. And on top of everything that they're going through, which they don't even got groceries, you know what I'm saying? On top of that, now they got this monster that's trying to consume her, and the dad has no idea what's going on. And she's had an accident. She's constantly on the floor, getting thrown around, getting beat up more and more and more, and he doesn't know what to do. So I love that family dynamic, and it makes the character of Quinn that much stronger because of it. And I dig it. I just love that whole family dynamic. Even her obnoxious little brother wasn't in it for long, thank God. But he did show that he did care for his sister, and for the little bit he was
He
on
did.
screen for, which was cool. He wasn't a total prick, and I respect that. And again, that only strengthens the character of Quinn, in my opinion. Because I've always said a character is only as good as the supporting cast around them. And this movie had a good combination of all of that. And Quinn didn't come off as obnoxious or an entitled or none of that. She just wants to get her acting career going. She lost her mom. Her dad is struggling. Her brother's a brat. But yes, she's still trying to keep everything together. And like I said, on top of that, now she's got this guy with, and Lexi, you said it. I love this antagonist because she had the breathing apparatus on, and every time you can hear like the breathing in the background, and the way they framed him with the only showing his feet in certain angles, and it was good all around. It was good, and again, it all just made the character of Quinn that much better.
Yeah, I liked her character, and I did like the dynamic between her and her father because you felt like her father didn't really know his own daughter.
Yes,
When he
yeah.
brought and bought her beef jerky, she's like, "I'm a vegan."
He's
Like, when
like,
did that happen?
when did that
Yeah,
happen?
and the little brother who's the one that actually recommended the two parapsychologists because
Oh
he was just
God,
watching them nonstop. Which
spectral sightings. Yeah.
so yeah, I like the fact that they had a character, and and not only that, the fact that they flipped the script, the fact that it was a single dad, a widowed dad,
Mhm.
not usually it's usually a single mom, a widowed dad
Yeah.
who basically felt so helpless. He's always was like, I'm so busy," and you're like, after all, I was like, "What the fuck are you busy about?"
Yeah, what does he do? He never told us what his profession was, right?
No,
I
but he's
know
always
he
busy,
was a
Right.
cop in Scream, but not here. So
always busy. But yeah, I liked the dynamic and stuff. I liked her character. Even when her father was trying to do his best, she like would do like a little grin, like whatever, dude. But it did give us a good character, which I feel like the turn of the film was quick because I feel like the minute she seen Elise was when the bad omens started happening. So you guys are accustomed to the character Elise from previous films. I mean, how did you feel about her role in this film? Haven't been already acclimated to her. I mean, did you enjoy her role in this basically part of the franchise compared to the others? Lexi?
Oh, I think she's definitely vital for the film, in the franchise. I mean, like we said, we started off with Insidious, the first one, so we already were introduced to her if you watched it, theater wise in order. For people that are going into this and googling, hey, what's the chronological order of this franchise, and you start with three, I like the introduction to her because we don't get a lot of her, but we do get important parts of her. And they do hint at the part where I think it was Rick who brought it up, where they're looking at the photographs with her friend. And so we get that like insight of part one. You also mentioned, I think it was you, JR, that we didn't get too much of her. I think that's what you said, or you wish you had a little more background of her, which as we go into, as what's your story keeps moving forward, I will slowly start bringing Insidious back up in chronological order, and your answers or your questions will be answered as time goes on. And so when you said that, I kind of smiled. I was like, okay, just wait, be patient. But yeah, Elise, I like the part back to where they're flipping through the pictures. She kept saying, and before she even met up with the friend, she kept saying, I don't want to do this. I told myself, I promised myself I was never going to come back into this field. I'm not going to open myself back up because every time I do, I bring something back with me. And she was scared of the woman that was trying to kill her, which we know as the lady in the black dress, which we're not going to get into that. But as the franchise goes on, you know who that lady is. So she was scared. She didn't want to open that vest, but she felt so attached to helping Quinn, and trying to get her to stop playing what she doesn't know what she's messing with. Because again, Quinn tried opening the doors up herself. She tried contacting her mother herself before even going to Elise. So I like the fact that she put her guard down to help another human being, especially a child who's struggling and getting beat the fuck up throughout this whole film, breaking her legs, I don't even know. I don't think she broke her neck. Yeah, she had the neck brace.
Yeah.
She's getting thrown across the room by this entity. It's just this poor girl. She's mentally, emotionally, and physically just going downhill. And so I love how there was moments of Elise and the dog just kind of making eye contact. Yeah, you better go help her. Warren, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love Elise. I think she's a massive, vital character to the entire franchise itself. And I can't wait for you guys to learn more about Elise as this goes forward.
Even
Yeah, I think this film, I know we talked about the importance of Quinn to this particular film, but I think this movie was a catalyst to give the character of Elise a shine. I think this is Lin Shaye's film, honestly. She was awesome. Yeah, little comical moments here, especially towards the climax we'll get into, but learning why she decided to quit the craft for a bit and knowing what drove her back to doing it, it was needed. It gives the character a lot of it gives her a stronger foundation moving forward in the franchise. You understand her more. You get why she is the way she is, and you understand why she's with these two fucking guys. You know what I'm saying? These two, the parasite. These guys are not real parapsychologists.
no.
Come on, you call them that, Jeff, but these guys are just YouTubers that are just ripping people off. You know what I'm saying? I love it. Well, I don't want to say ripping people off. I don't know that, but they're not the real deal. They're entertainers. I bet you if we hang out with Zach Baggins, and we'll probably be like, this. Actually, no, I believe Jack Baggins. That motherfucker is real. He believes his own shit. But
Right.
you know what I'm getting at. It's a good contrast between Elise and the Spectral Sightings guys. You know what I'm saying? And I loved her in this film. I think she was very important. And even though we were acclimated to the character of Elise prior, again, this film just strengthens the character. It gives her more weight and more meat to the bone. So when we do see her in the other films, now we got not only the previous ones, but now we know what motivates her and what got her to get back into this field, and not just for herself, but to help people. That's her main goal. Is she's not doing it for the money or for the thrill. She's doing it because there are people out there that legit need her help, and this is her gift. No one else has it. So she's, you know what? I was gifted this. Let me put it to use, and I like that. I loved the way her storyline came about. I just wish, yeah, in this one, I wish I knew more about that lady going after and why she just singled her out. But we again that shows up a little bit later. But yeah, man, I love Lizzie. Great, man. Come on, we're gonna do a live stream about Nightmare on Elm Street. Wasn't she in that one, Gr? I'm pretty sure she was in a
Yeah, she
Nightmare on Elm
was.
Street. Yeah, she was a
Yeah.
teacher, bro.
Yeah.
So that's why. Come on, so she's old school horror, man. So I love Lin Shaye. She is such a, God bless her. Just protect her at all costs.
Yes, facts.
For me, the reason I keep saying I want it more though is like I just feel like there's certain films that we always talk about as far as horror goes. An hour and 30 minutes is good, but I feel like there's some films that if they put a little bit more, you get this one could have gotten away with a little bit more time, add a little bit more backstory into her. You know, like I feel like the film should have swayed 50% between both because you did want more of a the least character, but you want him, you know, because you get the teases of the other spirits, the other entities that she's facing. I kind of wanted to see more of the other entities. I wanted to see two battles going on at the same time. But yeah, I mean, these movies are all about the entities. So yeah, let's talk about the entities in this film. No, this is all your franchise. So Lexi, you know, dive into a little bit about all these entities that showed.
I love that they gave not too much about the entities. The main entity was the guy in the mask, and how fucked up that he kind of he portrayed the husband to lure her more into the further. So for Elise to have that moment with her husband, it was sweet, but then I love that she figured it out very quick. My husband would never ask me to do that, and it was the mask guy. But there was a scene where Quinn gets thrown up to the stairs, like to the floor above them, to the apartment above them, and you see the feet. I don't even know what that was. It wasn't even blood. It looked like sparkly glue or like green goo or
something.
Right. And then a lady with like no limbs is crawling out. I didn't even make that connection until the end that was so like it made me see that she was slowly losing this battle. I mean, again, Quinn was getting beat the fuck up throughout the film, but I did not make the connection when that scene happened that was Quinn crawling on the ground with no arms, no feet, and everything. The lady in black, I don't want to touch too much onto that one because it does tie in with the other films that we're not discussing. But I like that that they brought her up just for a hot touch because, again, going back to the scene where she's with her friend discussing the photos, this is her reason of why not wanting to go back into this business because she already took care of young Patrick Wilson before this whole story with Quinn. So we get that opening and it leaves to a first-time watcher, well, who is that boy in the picture? Who is the lady in the picture behind the little boy? So that scene where she comes out and chokes Elise and almost won that battle, actually, right? I mean, she was on the brink of her last breath when the lady in black choked her to death. But I like that it still, yeah, exactly. It still gave nuggets, basically, Easter eggs into, okay, this is going to come back around full fold. So I liked all, and there was like, I felt like the whole building was just haunted because it was like falling apart. The roof is cracking.
I love that. Oh.
Yeah, like it was just falling apart. It kind of reminded me of a recent film. I just watched it the other night, Evil Dead Rise. That building is cracking and falling apart. What's with these tendons? Like
we need more horror in apartment buildings. It's
right.
It's creepier, in my opinion.
It is. And you know, the elevator's not working and the stairs breaking. That's just a little touch on Evil Dead Rise. I just recently watched that. But the whole building, and there was like touches of like there was like a girl, it looked like it was raining down on her, or she was crying or something. I assumed she was. I think she even mentioned it. I could be wrong, but that she was killed by that masked man
Yeah.
in the building.
Well, she hung
So
herself though. They caused her to kill them. Well, the people there killed themselves,
right,
just like Elise's husband killed himself. Because if you know,
because it was
she had the rope marks around her neck. So I'm assuming she hung herself.
right,
Good show on that.
and
Good
it was
show. I like that scene.
yeah, yeah, and it was drawn, and I think it was because this guy has been possessing different people in the building and causing them to either die or kill themselves. But yeah, I liked every aspect of the entities, but the one we kept seeing most was the guy in the mask, and I thought he was so creepy, so gross. His skin is like burning, and his mouth is disgusting when his mask was off.
Oh,
It was just
yeah.
like this hole. It wasn't even like lips or teeth or I don't know. It was really cool. Yeah, I like them.
Mhm.
Ricky?
Yeah, the presence was awesome. It's, the one scene I want to highlight is when Elise goes into the dark place. The sound design during that sequence was just fantastic. If you really, when I watched this, last night I had the headphones on, so I hear things really loud, and that scene when Elise goes into the dark place, it was like a haunted attraction. If you listen to the sound design during that scene and the way all like the various cast of weird characters, like you mentioned, Lexi, the lady that hung herself, or that's what I say, but the lady that she was talking to, or even the one that was sitting in a chair pointing, like, oh, look over there, and just
Oh yeah,
you
that
want to
part.
know more about these characters, right? So when you see the guy with the apparatus around his mouth, now that character was never explained why he was in a. What did they explain that later on in another film? I might be confused because I could have swore there was a character that died in a hospital and. No, okay, so this is
No.
relegated only
Not that
to
I
this film.
remember.
I could be. I mean, I could be getting movies confused, but I like that character a lot with the apparatus, the breathing sounds. Like I said, the way they filmed him, like the scene when Quinn was talking to her friend, right? Then her neighbor, and then she's like, "Hey, is that Alex behind you?" Then her feet just pauses, it freezes up on her tablet, and she's like, and you know this what's going on, but she doesn't. But when she said there's someone behind you, you're like, oh, I mean, the hairs on my arms just stood up, bro. I'm like, oh my god, and from that moment on, when the entity came in through the window, and then just you see the footsteps, and then she looks over, she gets picked up, thrown across the fucking on top of the ceiling onto the floor, just getting brutalized, man. And the way the entity slowly walks in, walks around, closes the door, comes back, and I'm thinking, why is Quinn not yelling and screaming? Like, call for your dad. What are you doing? She screams at like when the guy jumps on top of her, but I'm like, I would have been like, no, daddy. You know what I'm saying?
But
I would
Dad
have
was
ringing
just
that
coming
bell.
back from the grocery store. Right. But
But
Dad was just coming
it's
back from the
cool.
grocery store. He had the bag. He
You're
dropped. He
right.
walked
Yeah,
in and
yeah.
heard her screaming.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. And one thing, it's unrelated to the question, GR, but one thing I do want to emphasize when we talked about the dad, how he didn't care about, her. He was overwhelmed. But once she got into that accident, he put everything to the side, gave her that basket, the belt, whatever you need, I'm here. He became a completely different person. So that tells you, okay, he's really he loves his children. You know what I'm saying? He's just a guy that's just overwhelmed with everything. And that helps the character Quinn and the movie itself. I love movies with characters that you feel for, and I felt for this family. And this entity doing this to them, I was like, oh my god, stop this! Like, get this guy. You know what I'm saying? You get invested, and that's very important. And that's all because of the characters. We could talk about how cool all these various monsters were and demons or whatever you want to call them, but if you don't have a strong cast supporting that, it is hollow. You don't feel nothing. But because the characters are so strong, these characters are even highlighted even stronger because of that. Now you're invested. Now you got an antagonist and a protagonist you're rooting for, and you're rooting for the good guys. I loved it. I love the way the sound design treated every footstep, every breath. And let me tell you something: the jump scares up until the first half at least, the jump scares, man, whether it was a scene when Quinn got hit by the car or that scene when the father, I forgot his name, but when the dad is upstairs after Quinn gets dragged upstairs, and he looks through the window, and the guy, oh my god, he jumped, and you see the camera follow the father, it looks over, and you see the guy, the body on the floor. He pushes back. The camera pushes back. Now the camera's on Quinn. The camera follows Quinn. Now the Quinn's gonna look over. All of a sudden, boof! The monster's right there at the window. I'm like, wow. Okay, that's a good jump scare. Holy shit! I jumped multiple times in this movie, but again, the problem
Me
with
too.
that is, towards the end, it got a little too much. But this movie felt like a roller coaster ride. That's what I like about it, because the entity in this, it was always handled very well, and it felt like you're on a roller coaster. So the jump scares all added to the presence of the villains, and at that point you're like, holy shit! Like I can't fathom any more of these jump scares near the end of the movie. That's the only problem. They got too heavy-handed with the jump scares. The first half was great, but once they introduced the spectral sightings guy, then the comedy came in. That's
Yeah.
when the entities kind of, okay, now it's not scary no more. Now it's more comical. That's my issue with the film. But I love the character, and when she pulled the guy's mask off, and you said, Lexi, it looks like someone took a hammer and smashed his fucking teeth out, and he's
Right.
just a gaping hole, and he just that was cool. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there was
man.
like no lips.
No, no, not at all, man, not at all. And that old lady was creepy. I mean, I wanted to really, I wanted at least to beat the fuck out of her. I wanted her to give her the yeet.
Yeah.
What up, Jared? What you thought about these motherfuckers?
I got a quick question before I answer that question. Do you guys think it was a miss not knowing a little bit of a backstory on that entity in particular, Lexi?
Yes, because I mean he was very random. Like why is this particular like what was his issue as a resident in the building? Did he die in the building? What's his background? I would have liked a little backstory, like they would have found clues or something, learned more about him. Maybe they could, because like there's films out there that say, like prime example, The Sixth Sense. The kid said, or Bruce Willis tells the kid, "Hey, listen to what they're saying. See if you can help them." Obviously, this is a whole different dynamic with Insidious. That's we don't get that. I mean, we don't have that ability to help them. We're just scared for our fucking life because it's physically attacking her, nearly killing her, breaking almost every bone in her body. Um, so yeah, I think it's missed. It is a downfall in this film that we don't learn the background. Was it needed to make this a great film? No, not at all. But I guess it was like a wish, a wish that we would hope for.
Ricky?
Yeah, for me is yes and no. I agree with everything Lexi just said, but the fact that if you don't know too much about this particular entity, right? The fact that, all right, what it's telling us is there's multiple entities out there. Some good, mostly some bad, mostly bad. Let's be real. But any one of them could get attached to anyone. They don't have a personal grudge or an agenda. They just see somebody. This is my way out of here, right? Or in this case, they want to bring Quinn into this dark world and use their body as a vessel to walk amongst the dark world as opposed to the light. So it's weird. Yeah, it's a good question, Gr. I never thought about that because I think the way the movie works, as is, it does work. But yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about this guy. Who was he? How did he die? But I don't need to know why he was attached to Quinn, because
Right.
that could be any mischievous entity out there. They don't care who it is. They're looking for a way out or to bring someone in. There's no motive. I like that. But in the other sense, I did kind of want to know more about this guy and who he was prior to his death. So yeah, that's a good question, man. Yeah, I never thought
It's
about that.
something very interesting. I liked it, his dynamic. I liked it. I wanted to know what exactly. I know he fed off souls, but why? What was the reason behind him feeding off? What was the reason? The
I
need
think
for him?
for him to feed on Quinn is what I said before. She was vulnerable. She just lost her
Yeah.
mom. Her dad is a wreck, and she just wants to get away from her brother. And she's in a place now where she's trying to leave this life behind, but she can't. she's tied to her family, unfortunately, and he's you know what? That's an easy target. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And Elise kind of explains it a little bit. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but Elise did mention that these entities, some of them want to come and possess to live in the living because they don't want to be in the dark anymore, and some are just wanting you to bring people into the dark.
Yeah.
So that is the vague story, is that he's an entity that wants to bring Quinn to the dark. He doesn't want to go out there and live his life. It looks like he's already lived his life. I don't know. He looks old as hell,
Good shot.
but he wants to bring uh, people into the dark, into the further, so they can suffer just as much as he's obviously suffering.
Yeah.
I think that is the story, unfortunately, but
yeah,
I don't
just feel
remember
like,
him in any of the other franchise films.
I just felt like he was stuck in that building, and he was basically killing people
But
off.
he was only brought to that building because of Quinn, though. Quinn reached
Mm.
out. Remember, looking for her mom. She accidentally stumbled up into the dark. It's called the further.
The
But
further.
they called it the dark and the light. But it's further. She accidentally went into the further, and upon going there and coming back, this guy was whatever he is followed her back. So I don't think he was living in that building the entire time. She brought him there.
Yeah, it's just I just feel like his character could have been like I wanted him to know more. I feel like it would have enhanced the film because Rick hit it right on the head though. It's like once we get into the further towards the further didn't feel scary, it felt comedic, which I
Yeah,
think
it did. It did.
it
It
took
did.
away from the film.
I agree.
You know, but yeah, let's go deep dive and wrap this one up. Yeah, let me know what you thought about the story, the characters. Lexi, I'll have you go first. That way Ricky could sit there and just look at everything and be like, what pages I'm gonna
I'm like a sponge.
yeah, so yeah, Lexi, rate it. I know this is your film you've been down talking about, so yeah.
I absolutely love this film. However, I do rate it a 4 because
Oh wait, we're
there
rating
are
this movie?
questions.
Wait, we're
Yeah,
rating
we
it?
rate we rate
Out of what? I'm sorry, I
same
forgot.
thing out of
Out
5.
of 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, although I do love this film, I do rate it as a 4 because there are more. It does leave you with more questions than answers. And if I'm nitpicking, there are moments where, like you guys said, it was comic near the end instead of. I liked that there was jump scares because it left me. I was like, whoa, whoa! Like, I love a film that can make my skin crawl and like scare me. And I just remember, especially the part where the car hits Quinn, like that was
Great.
dramatic and out of nowhere, and the
Great.
sound to it was. And y'all know how I feel about bone crunching. So with the legs part where she's standing up and then she's banging her
Yeah.
broken legs, and then you hear it crackling, I'm just like, I'm about to gag and I'm turning white and throwing up. I just hate the sound of it. So jumping back to the closing thoughts, um, this film, this entire film works for me. I know we're questioning the entity guy and his backstory. I honestly don't remember him in any of the other films, just thinking about it. So I would like more of him.
Can I
Just to
interject
see,
1 second? Only for my
yeah.
personal gain. Was there a movie in this franchise where there was an entity that they discovered that was a guy dying in a hospital, and they told us who he was? Was that the Insidious it wasn't Sinister? The problem is Sinister, The Conjuring, and
I
Insidious to
think I know what
me,
you're talking
it's,
about.
they bleed in together sometimes because they came out around the same time. They're all Blumhouse, and
I
2 out of 3 feature the same actor. So anyway, I digress. I'm just God, Lexi. I'm sorry.
I No, you're good. I think I know what you're talking about because it's slowly coming back to me, and I don't remember which film said it, but I thought the correlation was with the lady in the black dress.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's watching. I'll tell you off camera. But yeah, yes. So, damn, you have me thinking. I swear I haven't seen this I haven't seen him look like that in any other film. But I think maybe there's correlation, maybe there's not. I could be wrong with the lady in the back dress. Anyways, this I you guys brought up great points with the family dynamic and the balance between her personal life and a struggling family. It does make this film so much more believable, so much more attracting to watch. I do want to shout out the father. Like, I mean, he lost his wife. And usually when there's a father mother dynamic, there's a balance in the house. Dad goes off to work and does this thing to provide for the family while mom stays home and takes care of the kids. When you lose that person that's supposed to be home, he's now doing everything. So I like that you see his struggle. Um, and there was moments I felt like he was trying to make Quinn woman of the house, but she's going through her own personal bullshit, obviously. And I like that he does put his life aside just to deal with his daughter. And I like that there's so many films out there that you have this long longevity of not it's not haunted, the place is not high, you're crazy. No, he believed her from the get. Like, he didn't say she was crazy, he didn't like blow her off or anything. There was a few times where he was like, but then he ends up going to Elise's house himself, because she had mentioned, yeah, I went and saw somebody. And um so I like that he listened to her and he took his own steps to try to help her the best way that he knew how. Um, and the ending of the film, where the mother does appear and Quinn's diary gets open, I love the whole ending, and it just brings a little tear to your eye, just seeing the mother. Um, Overall, great film, great supporting cast. Like you said, Rick, the sound, the whole thing's great, but it's a four for me because I just wanted more.
All right, Rick, I gotta hear
It's
what you say.
it's a four for me too, but because I'll be honest, I think I enjoyed this one more than the first two. It's because of the characters. It's more intimate. It's more grounded in a sense. You know, you don't really get a lot of films. Again, I keep mentioning this, but you don't get a lot of horror films like this that takes place in like an apartment building, a complex with more of like the middle class. Every time we get a haunted house story or anything with demons or ghosts, where it's always someone's house. Very rarely you get it in an apartment building. And the relationship between Quinn, her dad, I loved it. It was just, you could tell there's a lot of tension there, but at the same time, when the shit hit the fan, the dad was there for the daughter. He put everything, as much as he was complaining about being overwhelmed or he was doing too much or everything scatterbrained. Once she was out of commission after the accident, he put all that negativity to the side and dedicated everything to her. And the fact that they used this film as a catalyst pop to pump up Elise's character too is great. Now again, when she charged at that one guy, I thought she was gonna legit give that motherfucker a spear, bro. And she stops and stomps on the ground, the thing breaks, the guy falls. Like, what the fuck was going on? Like, what the hell? It's goofy. So I love the first half. The first half to me was a 5, but then when the second half comes in and they introduce spectral sightings, and again, Elise starts, getting into fights with the spirits. It gets a little comical, goofy. They a lot of like in jokes, tongue in cheek stuff. That's when and then the jump scares got a little too much, especially at the end. Gr, you mentioned they should have never have even showed the guy at the end. I would have been happy with just a phone call of her taking
Yeah.
it, saying, "Hey, there's a oh, if that happened already, I can't even say that because the little all right, Patrick Wilson's character, his son, I forgot his name, but his son needed help. I would have been happy with a phone call say, "Hey, there's a kid that needs your help," and that's Insidious 1. But showing the Darth Maul, I hate it. The reason why I never saw these films too, that everything you saw promotional work, it was that Darth Maul ghost. I hated that. Like, I don't want to. What the fuck is this? I never liked that design. And when he pops in at the end here, I'm like, oh, come on. Okay, you're getting a little. I'd rather have that little face in the closet when Warren was looking at it, and all you see is that little
Mhm.
white face. That was scary. But then they had to add the last jump scare with the guy with the Darth
Yeah.
Maul makeup. Okay, all right, you
They
guys
didn't
jumped the
need
shark
that.
now. But overall, I love the characters. I love the film. I love the intimate setting. And this movie's a roller coaster ride. It's not really much for the story for me. It's the roller coaster ride because again, the first half, some of those jump scares, it ain't that they were just jump scares that just boom popped up out of nowhere. They telegraphed it. For example, when Elise is following those footsteps, right, and it gets to like just a wall. Oh my god, where is the footsteps going? She looks to the side. Also, they start going up the wall. She looks. and the entity with the mask is hanging upside down. You knew it was coming, but they built that tension. They built it. They built it. They built it. They built it. Then when it finally hits you, boom! Oh shit! All right. So that's why I say it's like a roller coaster ride. All the jump scares, for the most part, most of them were. It was like a rubber band. You take it, you stretch it until you can't go no more. And it pops. That's when the jump scare happens, and it works. It works. I love that. That's the last thing I'm gonna say about this movie. I dug the characters, and I really dug the way the jump scares were handled until the second half. Then it got a little bit too much. I went too overboard. The jump scares were too much in abundance, and it just at the law of diminishing returns was really in effect by the end of this movie. But I love the characters so much, and I felt for them that I'm a rated high. I love the direction, the cinematography, and the sound design in this film. So all that
I
is
think
a
it got
plus for me.
comical because they had it somehow introduce the two guys to now work with Elise because we get that cute moment. She's like, "Let's go into business and take me
I
to the
like that
bar."
though. See, I like that because you know why? It was at the
So
end.
yeah,
That's why. It was after. All right, I like comedy when it comes at the end, but when it's during intense moments and like at least she, I'm telling. I'm like, oh, is she gonna spear this motherfucker? What's going on? What's she going for? Well, I hear you though, Elise. But Elise, I call her Elise, Lexi. All right, that's my cue. All right, Gr.
All right, I'm gonna say it's a 3.5. The further should be probably where majority of the natural jump scares happen. When it became comical, I feel like it lost its luster of all right, this is supposed to be the place that I'm supposed to be scared of. That she was like, "Come on, bitch!" I'm like,
Yeah.
really? You didn't need that. It's almost like I felt like they should have did a little bit more.
One question. You said that. Was that the further? Because that looked at like the apartment building. It wasn't.
No, I think that was the
So,
further because that's when she goes into the
right. I got
yeah.
that too. But now that you
and they
said that, I'm
didn't
thinking
touch
back.
on they didn't touch on like the whole astral projection world. They You don't learn about
Yeah.
that until Insidious, first one.
Wh-
So
Yep.
Which
they
I feel
don't.
like
Yep.
that's what getting more
Yep.
backstory on the Lee's character of going into the further would have helped this film because I feel like the struggle with this film was which direction do we really want to take? Should we continue the building of Elise or focus on the Quinn and the storyline? So I think it kept going back and forth to the fact that it lost itself. And I'll tell you exactly where I feel like it lost itself the most. Where I feel like the diminishing return, like you said. I did not like the part that in order to get her to come back out, were like, hold her hand, hold up. You should have been in the further the whole time. I would have been more happy if Felice was in the further, continuing the battle, and then the mother shows up. It felt cheesy that she's calling for the mother to show up. So when the mother showed up, it felt forced.
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
I think that for me, that took away from it because I'd
Yeah.
rather have something where Elise is struggling to beat the entity, and then the mother comes in. Because how does the mother save her? Whisper something in her ear. I'm like,
You're right,
no.
because there was a moment where she was like, "There's another woman in here, and she's telling me there's a book. What book? What book?" And you know who the lady was. You know who the lady
Yeah.
was, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
The cat
the
lady.
lady, the old, yeah, the cat lady.
Yeah.
So why did we need her in this dynamic speaking to
That was
Elise at
forced.
all?
Yep. Yep.
That's where it felt forced.
I
Like,
agree.
all right, we get the mother to come out, whisper in the ear. It felt cheesy because I would rather have the mother fight off the entity. And then she at least have the opportunity to see her mother. Because that's another thing that I didn't like either is, oh, your
She
mother's in the room. So the entity could appear, but the mother can't appear for her daughter in the room,
Good
which I
shout.
think that's another thing that took away from the film.
Good shout.
Because, oh, she's here and she's looking around and she's never coming back. Not in this world. I mean, at least give her the last look of her mom. And then
right.
even, at least could say she was there when you were at when you were at the basically the audition. Because that would have been nice. She sees her mother. She tells her mother was at her audition. She looks at her mother. Her mother smiles. She disappears. That would have been a better ending. I just felt like the whole thing was forced at the end. That it took it took the luster from Elise because Elise is supposed to be the psychic, the one that fights these battles. And it just felt like, all right, you didn't really fight that battle because you screamed for the mom to come out. It just felt like the disappointment there, which I think it would have, if they would have ended the film with, like Rick was saying, she goes back in the house, she gets the phone call, Patrick Wilson. You don't got to show the guy's face, the entity's face, but if you would have had his eyes open behind her or some shit like that, it would have been more of an impact. The minute he showed his face, I'm like, oh, come on, get out of here. It didn't do nothing. It felt like, oh, this just pop this dude in so we could wrap it to the first film, which didn't need to do that. The phone call would have been better. For me, yeah, definitely a 3. I mean, it's a fun film to watch.
3 or 3.5?
No, 3.5. I'm sorry, 3.5. 3.5. Watch it. I'll definitely go back and start watching the franchise because I know now Lexi wants to talk about them. So, Lexi, give me the list of what you want to talk about so I can watch them.
Oh, I thought you seen them.
I seen the first one. The second one I was so on, and then this one I was interested in. Like I said,
so this was your first watch for this one?
Second watch for this one.
It's like, okay, gotcha.
But it's been such a I know 2015, but 2015 feels like so
that's
long.
why I hate when it's out of order. Chronological order makes more sense, and same with The Conjuring. You have to watch The Conjuring universe, not just The Conjuring itself, The Conjuring universe in chronological order.
Yeah.
And because I've caught so much stuff watching it in order that I didn't catch when I watched it in theater order. So
well, that's it for this episode. Ricky, thank you for coming on.
Yes,
thank you. Appreciate the invite. Hopefully, come back and we'll discuss the next one.
Oh, Lexi's chalking up all the Insidious. We might just do half a season of the next season, all on Insidious.
No.
Why did you put her in charge then?
All right, that's it for us. What's your story? Horror Fiend TV. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share it to all your friends. Got a couple more movies for this season, but Horror Fiend TV has still a lot coming your way. We're always looking to keep things fresh, keep things new, and keep you excited about all the different genres of horror that we like to talk about. So, till next time, Lexi, Ricky Grime, JR, peace.